Welcome to Hilary Emmanuel Ministries, where faith meets power, purity and prosperity, and breakthroughs are born. At Diadem, we equip you with bold prayers, life-transforming teachings, and spiritual strategies to overcome every challenge life throws your way. Join us as we dive into God's Word, experience His presence like never before, and walk in His purpose for our lives. If you're in London, we invite you to fellowship with us in person at Diadem, 4 Pegamoy Road, N18 2NG. Don't forget to subscribe now and let's grow in faith together.
Brethren, we thank the Lord for all the things He has done so far. The program is going so fast. And since this week, we have been learning from how God dealt with Isaac in the time of famine. And we have seen God's purpose in allowing famine where His saints are. That anytime He permits it, there's a sure reason, there's a purpose for it. And we have seen the obedience of the saints. And each time the saints also obey God like that, they receive the blessings of God. And we have also seen the keen interest of the wicked in the affairs of the righteous, which move them to monitor the righteous continually. They want to know, they are interested in everything going on, happening in the life of the righteous. But one that I want to plead with you is this. I want to plead with you today, do not allow either famine or anything happening around you, or even the operation and activities of the wicked to confuse you. Don't be carried away by those things. Don't allow it also to distract you from what the Lord is doing. Because I told you already that anytime events like this are going on earth around the people of God, God Himself is in action. He's doing something very serious. And as such, our focus should be on what God is doing. Our major concern should be on what God is doing. We want to remain very attentive in the spirit so that we don't miss anything, we don't lose anything, and we don't get distracted by any, because the enemy will want to also occupy us. We saw it yesterday, how Abimelech was busy watching Isaac and his wife. With that kind of event and the thing that happened there, if you are not careful, if you are Isaac, you could be distracted, because you could even become paranoid that, well, who knows if they are still watching me? Who knows if they are still monitoring me? Who knows whether they are now looking at me? And all those kind of things, brethren, can distract somebody, can take somebody's focus away. So our focus should be on what God is doing with us, what God is telling us, and what God is trying to achieve in our lives for that period. And I want you to understand this, brethren. The enemies will always be the enemies. And that's why they are called enemies. They will always be enemies. They will always be operating like enemies. The day they stop operating and functioning like enemies, then you know they are no longer enemies. So they are enemies because of their operations. And sometimes the things we call attacks of the enemy are actually ordinary distraction. Sometimes it's a distraction. They have tried to attack us and they know they cannot attack us. They've tried to penetrate. They know our God has covered us round about. And when they see the level of security around us, and they see that they cannot attack us and none of their weapon is affecting us, then they could be distracting us. Not that they can harm us, not that they can hurt us. They are just doing it just to distract, And distraction, I've taught you about distraction before, brethren. Distraction is as deadly as any other thing. Because distraction can take any person far away from that person's destiny. So I want to plead with you to reject the distraction of the enemies, to maintain your focus on what the Lord is doing with you, on where the Lord is leading you, where the Lord is taking you to. Did you see how God came to Isaac and told him not to go to Egypt, to remain in the land? And He went on to promise him so many things. We have seen the promises of God. He promised him so many things he wanted to do with him in that place. From that moment, Isaac promise of God. And because he's now walking in the promise of God, he's staying in that land, even though he might not like it personally, but he's staying in that land as a result of the promises of God. As a result of God's visitation, he's staying in that land in obedience to God. And as such, you can conclude that he has started to walk right in the promises of God. And from that moment that he was walking in the promise of God, the enemies would like to distract him. The enemies will want to do everything possible. And as such, his life can no longer accommodate distraction. Our lives, if you are walking in the promise of God, do not allow distraction to affect you. And that's why, brethren, we are looking at what I call the diligence and prosperity of the saints. The diligence and the prosperity of the saints. We understand, we know what diligence means. It means to be devoted to something, to be committed to something, to be hardworking, to be persistent, not to be distracted, to be diligent in whatsoever you're doing. So we've seen the diligence and then the prosperity of the saints. They are all linked together. A prosperous saint must be a diligent saint, must be a committed saint, a devoted saint. So they are all tied together. They are all tied together. Genesis 26, look at verse 12. Genesis 26, verse 12. We're looking at the diligence and prosperity of the saints. Genesis 26, verse 12. Then Isaac sowed in that land. Remember, God told him, stay here. Don't go to Egypt. This is where I want you to be. So he obeyed God, stayed there, and planted and sowed in that land, and received in the same year an hundredfold. He received hundredfold. He harvested hundredfold. And the Lord blessed him. Remember the promise we read before? How God told him, I will bless you. So the faithfulness of God has started to manifest. The Lord fulfilled his promises. Verse 13. And the man, due to when you just say God bless you, it's too general, it's too abstract. You don't know the nature of blessing. For somebody to be alive is blessing also. For somebody to have food to eat is blessing also. So what kind of blessing is the Bible talking about? So that we'll be able to quantify it, we'll be able to put it in perspective and know that, okay, this is the way God blessed Isaac. Look at it in verse 13. He said the man waxed great. Before he went to Gerar, he was not that great. He was a great man. But he now started to wax great in the land. In the midst of famine, in the midst of trouble, in the midst of scarcity, in the midst of lack, when many people were dying of hunger, he started to wax great and went forward. Take note of that word, went forward. That's progress. Steadily was moving forward, and then grew. Not that he was a young man. This growing here is growth of prosperity. Growth of prosperity. He now started to grow until he became very great. Do you see the promises of God? Do you see the fulfillment of the promises? Do you see all those things, the faithfulness of God, how it's beginning to manifest? Do you see prosperity now? Those prosperity God spoke about is beginning to manifest in his life. He's becoming a very great. Verse 14. For he had possession of flocks and possession of herds and great store of servants, so many servants. And the Philistines envied him. They took note of it. They saw it. The Philistines, remember, they have been monitoring him. We saw that yesterday. They've been watching him day and night. So they were watching him. They were seeing him transform day by day. They were seeing him change every day. They were seeing him increase every day. They were seeing him becoming greater and greater and greater every day. They were watching all those things. You see, Isaac did not say, take note of what happened here. Because when God appeared to Isaac and told him not to go to Egypt, to stay in this land, and that he will be with him, Isaac would have as well gone to lie down and gone to say, well, I am settled. Jehovah God said I should remain here, that he will take care of me. And such, go and fold his hand. No. But you see what happened? He went on and started to work hard. The promises of God are there. The faithfulness of God is there. The presence of God is with him. But he did not relax. He was not lazy. He could have concluded that, well, since the Almighty God that created everything said that he has given me this whole country, so this whole country belongs to me, and let me go and lie down. He didn't do that. He went on and started to work hard. He started to labor. He became very diligent in everything that he was doing. And God found a platform to prosper him. Anytime God wanted to release prosperity, Isaac created a platform for that prosperity to land upon. Because he was diligent, hardworking, he was cultivating and sowing and planting and working hard. He had a lot of servants working for him, and as such, there was a ready place for God to put the prosperity upon. That's why I told you that they are linked together. The diligence of a saint of God and the prosperity of the saint of God, they are tied together. Because we are still going to see other scriptures, and you are going to see that if God has promised you blessings and promised you prosperity and promised you to hand over nations to you and also what, you can't be lazy. And that's why I say that it does not accommodate any kind of distraction. You have to be up and doing. Another thing again I want you to take note of, brethren, is this. Do you notice that the blessings God promised Isaac did not come overnight? The blessings did not just, he did not just wake up and maybe just wake up and everything and just become great at once. That was not how it happened. The Bible says that he went on bit by bit. There was a process, there was a movement from one stage to another, from one stage to another. And as he was making that progress and moving on stage by stage, bit by bit, continue, and he persisted, continue working hard. The profit he will make this year might not be as much as the one he will make next year. And as he continued, more and more, the profit kept growing, kept growing, kept growing. The Bible says until he became very great. So he did not become very great in one night, in 1 year. He did not become very great that same year God promised him. It was a process. And we need to learn from this. We need to understand this. Because sometimes this is where believers miss it. Believers will say, well, God has promised me, and they have not seen anything. Meanwhile, not working, they're not doing anything. There's no platform for God to put prosperity. And they expect everything to just happen overnight. It doesn't happen that way. God doesn't do it that way. So you have to learn from this. And I'm still going to show you other examples also. I'm going to show you other examples. And so you can begin to see that Isaac persisted. Isaac continued diligently, focused on what he was doing until he became exceedingly great. Till the promises of God fulfilled in his life. And you know, the people of the land that possibly had no any other thing to talk about than Isaac and his family. They are there, and they'll be watching, and they wake up one day to see that Isaac that came into their country as a refugee, Isaac that came into their country as a nobody, and that Isaac has become now an exceedingly great man. And they'll be seeing all those things. So this is the power of diligence, and that is also the secret of the prosperity of the saints of God. Saints of God that prosper are diligent saints. Proverbs chapter 12. Look at verse 24. Proverbs 12, verse 24. It says, the hand of the diligent shall bear wool. Do you know what that means? It says that the hand of a hard-working man, a diligent man, not a lazy man, not a lazy man, a diligent, hard-working man. He said his hand will rule. That was what happened. Isaac was diligent in the land of the Philistines, and before long we will see what happened later. You see the kind of people that started to come to him, to try to belong to him, to try to make friendship with him. It's as a result of his diligence, and it's as a result of his success and his greatness. If he got there the way he went there, as nobody, as hungry as a refugee, and he left as a refugee, no person will look for him. No person will want to associate with him. So, because the Bible says, the hand of the diligent shall be, but slothful shall be under tribute. The lazy, the slothful shall be under tribute. And that's why you see so many believers, they are under tribute. And God doesn't want his children to be under tribute. And that's why we are learning this thing today. That's why we are going to pray the prayer we want to pray here today. There's enough provision for the children of God. There's enough prosperity in the kingdom for the people of God, for the saints. We just need to know how to tap into it. Proverbs chapter 10, look at verse 2. Proverbs 10, verse 2. It says, treasures of wickedness profit nothing. People think that you have to be wicked, you have to practice wickedness, you have to defraud people to be able to. He said that treasures of wickedness, they don't profit anything. But righteousness delivereth from death. The Lord will not suffer the soul of the righteous to famish, but he casteth away the substance of the wicked. Now look at verse 4. He said, he becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand. He said, poverty is the result of a slack hand. But the hand of the diligent maketh rich. Take note of that scripture. The hand of the diligent maketh rich. That was what Isaac practiced in the land of Gerar. He was there, he was diligent, and his hand prospered him. Verse 5. He that gathereth in summer is a wise son, but he that sleepeth in harvest is a son that causeth shame. So you can see the position of the scripture. You can see that diligence is directly tied to prosperity of the saints of God. You know, unbelievers and the children of Satan, they can do and practice wickedness, steal, kill, do anything like Satan, their father, because Satan is a killer. He's a robber, he's a thief, he's a destroyer. So they can do what their father is doing and get prosperity. But you as a child of God, diligence is tied directly to your own prosperity. In verse 21, look at verse 5. The thoughts of the diligent tend only to plenteousness. Take note of what he said. The thought, how the diligent man thinks, the imagination of the diligent man. He said it leads to plenty. The person will become have enough, abundance, the thoughts. So you now see that prosperity starts from the thought. Prosperity starts from the mindset. Prosperity starts from what you meditate upon, what you believe in your brain, what you think. Sometimes you might look at a particular business and you say, no person is coming to buy it. No person is looking for that kind of a thing. Before you know it, you see somebody else selling it and making money. Before you know it, you see somebody else prospering with it. So he said the thought is very important of the diligent. So if you are diligent, your thought also needs to be sharp. He said the thought of the diligent it leads only to plenty, to abundance, to increase. But everyone that is hasty only to want, that is, you want it today. You can kill to get it today. If you don't get it today, you will backslide. And you will go and follow those your friends that are doing this. Those that are in haste, he said they will end up in want. Proverbs chapter 22. Look at verse 29. Proverbs 22 verse 29. He says, seest thou a man diligent in his business? He said, have you seen any man that is very, very hardworking, diligent, committed to the business he's doing, to the work he's doing? He said, that man, a diligent man, shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. Do you know what that means? When Isaac got to that place, he was just looking for where to survive. By the time Isaac was leaving Gerar, the king of Gerar and the captain of their host, the chief of the army, went to Isaac to make covenant with him. That's what diligence means. If you are a diligent saint of God, you are a hardworking saint of God, you will discover that you will not, the people that will be in your life, people that will be desiring your presence, will be great people, will be kings. He says, seest thou a man diligent in his business? He shall stand before kings. He shall not stand before mean men. I remember when we were on campus, and they always use this scripture to tell us to read hard, to be diligent in our studies. And I read some pastors or some preachers will quote this very verse and say, seest thou a student, a brother, a sister that is diligent in her studies? He said he will stand before professors. He will stand before the VC to shake their hand and collect certificates. He will not go behind and be standing before the non-academic staff. Do you know non-academic staff? Clerks, those typewriters, those that are typists, and all those on cleaners and so on. Because by the time you fail your course and you cannot stand before the professor, you'll be looking for cleaner that will help you, that clean the office of the professor to help you to steal your transcript out, to remove your paper. So that he said you will not stand before mean men. You will not stand before mean men. So let me show you, brethren, diligence, how directly is tied to the prosperity of the saint. Genesis 32, look at verse 9. Genesis 32, verse 9. This was Jacob. Obviously, maybe Jacob saw all the whole story of his father. He saw what his father, how his father made it and became very great, became exceedingly great. Maybe Jacob saw all those things, and Jacob learned that hard work from his father. Look at Jacob now. And Jacob said, O God of my father Abraham, and the God of my father Isaac, the Lord which said unto me. The promise of God is wonderful. When you have the promise in your hand, work on that. That's already a platform for you to begin to work upon. So he said, he God that said unto me, return unto thy country and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. I am not worthy of the list of all the mercies and of all the truth which thou hast showed unto thy servant. For, take note of this, for with my staff, with my rod, I passed over this Jordan. He said, when I was going to Haran, when I was running away to Haran, the only thing in my hand was a rod. He said, with my staff, I passed over this Jordan, and now I'm coming back. And I'm coming back in two bands. Two bands. What that two bands means is that two mighty companies of people with animals, with all kinds of prosperity and riches. He said, I'm coming back now, two bands. I went only with my rod. How did Jacob achieve it? What was the secret of Jacob? How did he make it that he went only with his rod and now coming back in two bands? How did he do it? Remember, he spent 21 years in Haran. Jacob did not do it overnight. That's what a lot of people believe. That's what a lot of people practice. I'm sorry to say, some of the cultures and some people that from some particular country, they want to go into another person's country and travel abroad, and then the following year they want to gather all the whole money there, steal all the whole money there, and then take it home and become billionaire and become millionaire. And then people will not ask you questions. What exactly did you do there? What did you do there? How did you come across this money? So you now see, Jacob spent 21 years in Haran. And obviously I know many of us have spent maybe more than 21 years abroad. And Jacob said the only thing in his hand when he got to Haran was the rod in his hand. But 21 years of hard work, 21 years of diligence has paid off. Now he's coming back with prosperity. Coming back with prosperity. So you can see that the secret of the prosperity of Jacob was, one, the promises of God, which was what he quoted first. The promises of God, and which he got the day he was running away, the place he slept in Bethel. And then number two was his diligence. These two things, if you have them together, brethren, you will become exceedingly great in life. If you have the promise of God upon you, and you are not lazy, you are diligent in your business, you will definitely make it. And you don't allow anything to distract you. Now look at how Jacob himself shared his testimony, so that we know how it all happened. So that we know that he did not just go there and steal money and defraud people and come back and every person is looking at, hey, Jacob has hit it big, oh, Jacob has landed, oh, Jacob is back, oh. Look at Genesis 31. Genesis 31. Look at verse 36. Genesis 31, verse 36. And Jacob was wroth. He was angry. He was angry and he started to rebuke Laban, his father-in-law. He chode with Laban And Jacob answered and said to Laban, what is my trespass? What is my sin? That thou hast so hotly pursued after me. Take note of that word. The pursuit was hot pursuit. I showed you yesterday that the enemies, they are watching. If they see you prospering, they will pursue, but they can't do anything. He said, why have you pursued me so hotly? I told you that enemies will always be enemies, brethren. And they will still keep pursuing hotly. They will keep attacking in every way they can. But Jehovah God will not allow them to prosper. And they will not be able to hurt you. Laban was there, playing all his game with the destiny of Jacob. But Jacob was busy prospering. Jacob was focused. Jacob, listen carefully to me, brethren. All those that will still read what happened later. When Jacob said, you changed my wages 10 times. You know that was enough for Jacob to pick a fight. And they will scatter everything by fight. But Jacob, that would have become a pure distraction. Because already the angel of God was doing something with Jacob and his prosperity. So because of that, there's no need for distraction. Don't engage, don't allow distraction. So Jacob was busy prospering. But it wasn't that massive explosion immediately. It was bit by bit. Laban will say, let's change the salary structure again. Jacob will say, okay, what do you want? He will say, from now, any cow that gives birth to this color is your own. Jacob will say, that's fine. And then he will continue. And then after some moons, all the cattle will begin to favor Jacob and give birth to that color that Laban specified. And Laban will come back again and say, no, that color is not the one I want. I want us to change it again so that that color will be my own. And then Jacob will say, that's fine, no problem. Jacob had all opportunity to pick fight with Laban. But that will be a distraction. That will scatter what the Lord is doing. That will give the enemy a footstep, an opportunity to step in and begin to destroy things. Jacob said, that's fine, anything. He said he changed it 10 times. And yet, Jacob was just busy prospering, little by little, one step at a time. By the time that Laban and his children will look back, Jacob has overtaken them. Remember what the Bible said? He said, do not despise humble little beginning. It might be little in the beginning, but just continue diligently with what you are doing. Look at verse 37. Verse 37. He said, whereas thou hast searched all my stuff, what hast thou found of all thy household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge between us both. These 20 years have I been with thee. Do you see the testimony of Jacob? Do you see that Jacob's greatness, Jacob's prosperity came out of pure diligence? He said, for 20 years I have been in your house. Your ewes and your she-goat have not cast their young. The rams and the flocks, I have never eaten any one of them. For 20 years, I was not covetous. I never stole your things. I never said one day, my wife gave birth to a child, maybe my first child, or naming ceremony, or birthday, let me kill one goat. It's my in-law's goat, and use it to say, it's just touched any of your things. So you now see that that's what makes him a saint anyway. That's what makes him a saint, because you can't find a sin in him. You see that he was diligent, he was hardworking, things were hard for him, difficult for him, yet he maintained his integrity. He will not soil his hand. He will not steal from any person. That's what makes him a saint. He said, your flock have never eaten anyone. Verse 39. He said, anyone that animals kill, any of your animals that the wild beast tear, I didn't bring it back to you and say, look at animal, kill this one. No. Never. I paid for it. I bear the loss. So if animal come and attack, or maybe lion or anything, they attack the animals, the flock, and they kill anyone, and it's your own, I make sure I take my own and replace your own. Laban was not there to see all those things. Laban was not watching him to that extent. And Jacob was able to account for every single animal. Do you know that Jacob was the one looking after the animal? Laban was not there with him in the bush. The animal could give birth and Jacob will say, it's my own, it's not your own. So you can see that diligence goes with righteousness. That's why he's a saint of God. Remember, we are talking about saints of God. We are talking about saints of God. So you are not going to practice anything dubious. You are not going to practice anything that's not right. So he said that anyone that animal did, I bear the loss of my hand is thou require it. Whether they stole it, the one stolen by day or stolen by night, I paid for it. For 20 years, that's how I served you. Verse 14. He said, thus I was. In the day the drought consumed me. He said, that hot sun, the whole hot sun, I will stay in it throughout the whole day for 20 years. Also on top of my head. No protection, no shelter. You see what diligence means, brethren? He said, for 20 good years, the hot sun, the drought was upon me. And the frost by night comes. No place to sleep. I have to sleep with the animal outside. And all the whole dew and frost, if there's rain, everything is on top of me. You see diligence, how it looks like. And my sleep departed from my eyes. He said, do I begin to talk about sleep? Because I have to watch over the animal both day and night to make sure they are not stolen, to make sure no wild beasts come and kill them. He said, in the night when you are sleeping and awake, he said, no sleep for me. Verse 41. He said, thus have I been 20 years. He said, that's how I served you for 20 years in your house. I served you 14 years for thy 2 daughters and 6 years for thy cattle. And thou hast changed my wages 10 times. You see diligence. See the nature of diligence, how it looks like. So you now see, as Jacob was coming back with prosperity, the prosperity is fully justified. Fully justified. It's not prosperity that the angels of God will be asking you a question. Where did you get this one from again? Which time did this one enter your hand? Where did you steal this one from? Because he labored for it and he was sincere, he was straightforward. And this is how diligent saints of God operate. This is how diligent saints of God, and that's how they prosper. And their prosperity speaks for itself. You can trace their prosperity. You can see how they prosper, how they started and what they did before they prospered. There's nothing to hide anywhere. Remember, brethren, we are talking about Jacob here. And we know the story of Jacob very well. The time he was going to Haran, he was running to Haran, he was 98 years. Then plus the 20 years, so he served there. That's you are looking at a man of almost 120 years. A man of about 118 years that is doing this kind of a thing. That is sleeping rough in the field. That had no sleep. That has to go through all these things to be able to make it in life. So it doesn't matter how old you are. Sometimes we, as soon as we reach maybe 20, we reach 30, we reach 40, we reach 50, we reach 60, and we have not made it, we write ourselves off. We begin to look for where to lie down. We begin to plan. When you are going, you see old people home. You use time to go there and check whether the place is clean or not. So that you tell them, that's the place I would like to go. Why are you thinking about old people home? What are you going to do there? Did they build it for you? You can see Jacob's age, and yet he prospered. He prospered legitimately. He made it through diligence, and he came back. And that was also how his father made it, through diligence. So you see that a diligent saint of God is a prosperous saint of God, because those two things, they go together. And today we are going to pray. We are going to pray. I know that I don't want to be pushing you much in the direction of business, because I know you will say, Pastor has come again. I don't want to go that direction too much. But whatever you are doing, whether it's career, whether it's your normal job, or whatever you are doing, be diligent there. Prosperity will come out from there. Because you are a saint of God and the promise of God is upon your life. And where there is promise of God and there is diligence, prosperity will surely come out. So we are going to pray now. Let's close our eyes. Let's close our eyes and let's begin to talk to the Lord. Begin to talk to the Lord. You see what the Father is telling me now? Some people, he said, what you are saying now is a mystery. He said, because some of my children, I have to force prosperity on them because their testimony is important for people around them. testimony. I need the testimony of their prosperity for my glory. And as such, I have to force prosperity on some people. Begin to talk to the Lord and say, my God and my Father, where I have been going astray, reacting to every provocation, reacting to every kind of thing. Some people, the Lord positioned them somewhere, say, be here. And that's where, for the first time in their life, God will give them promises. The first time in their life, God will visit them and give them promises. Look at where I'm taking you to. Look at what I want to do with you. Look at what I'm going to do in your life. And then they allow distraction. They allow provocation. They allow anything to push them away. And they departed from the place. God, Lord said, stay here. I will prosper you and I will bless you in this place. Because Isaac would have reacted and run away from that place. Jacob had all the homies. In fact, that night they deceived him and gave him a different woman. That night was enough for him to kick off, to riot in that place and turn the place upside down. But that will become a distraction to what? Because there's still more years and God has a lot of things to still do. So brethren, begin to beg God. My Father, where I have been allowing distractions, dream distraction, human distractions, demonic distractions, all kinds of distractions to occupy me unnecessarily. I am so sorry, my Father. I am truly sorry. Where I have abandoned the real thing, I have abandoned focusing on you. And I'm now looking at what is happening around and all the distractions of the enemy. Lord, Father, forgive me. I am deeply sorry, Lord. I am genuinely sorry. Father, have mercy upon me. Milakore brotena saltoma. Milakapore koneke tiele koshina. Asikolo kwete roko teri koko mashanka. Idweno kweta no kaze frotande shama. Anwala kaiporo na gudemaka. Intieto roka julese. Brekalukolo ne doema sagara. Rakoke shandre la kaito mashua. Endele kupa. Kundari balo guata la sako masholi. Eskeso kankolo meyo ijare kunuwa. Oh, Father, where I have been distracted already, and I am reacting to every distraction, following the whole distraction, following everything, and abandoning the most important thing in my life, abandoning the promises of God, abandoning the things that will prosper me. My God and my Father, I am so sorry.
Thank you for watching. If this message blessed you, don't forget to like, share and subscribe to join our growing community of faith. You've just listened to the sermon, but there are powerful prayers that follow. Due to social media rules and guidelines, the prayers have been removed from this video. However, you can access the full prayers and more life-changing resources by visiting www.pastorhillary.org or downloading our app, Diadem Media. If you're in the London area, we'd love to have you fellowship with us in person at 4 Pegamoid Road, N18 2NG. If you have any questions about this message, want counseling from Pastor Hillary, or wish to share your testimonies following the prayers, please leave a comment below and someone from our team will get in touch. Until next time, may God bless you abundantly and guide you in all your ways. Stay victorious.